Okay, is everybody ready to get started? Okay. We have a small crowd. If you guys want to get closer, that's good. If you don't, well, that's okay too. Do we have new people here? Anybody? No new people. Okay, this is welcome. This is small. It's St. Patrick's Day, so that's okay. We didn't have a meeting in December, and we had one in January. We didn't have one in February, so we didn't want to get too off track, and so we just made sure that you guys are here to get some updates if you wanted them. We'll try to get you out of here quick so that you can go back to your cabbage or whatever you're eating. Pastor John could not be here tonight, so he sent his regrets, and I'm going to read to you what he had to say. From Pastor John, greetings. I am sorry that a previous commitment has taken me away from the church for tonight's meeting. However, you all remain in my thoughts and prayers. I believe you have been called to bring this important environmental issue to the notice of the public and the government so that with continued voice and action, the right solution will be accomplished. And in the end, we will bring a lasting resolution to our small corner of the world. This is why John Calvin Presbyterian Church considers it an honor to provide you with this space for your participation in this information exchange and these discussions. So welcome. And as we begin next week, the holiest weeks in the Christian calendar, may the power of the resurrected Christ move in and through you, that you may find a new freshness and celebration in all that God has done and will do for you. Amen. There is going to be a garage sale April 23rd right here, so we wanted to make sure that we got that information out to you guys. Maybe you can participate or come get some good sales. Everyone knows our websites, our Facebook page. Anybody want me to go over that? Okay, that's our website. Our next meeting is going to be April 21st, right here. So you can mark that on your calendars. The odor has been pretty bad the past 3 weeks or so. I've seen a lot of odor reports, a lot of complaints about the odors. So just a reminder to make sure that you are filling out the odor report online, or you can call the phone number 314-416-2960 and you can let them know by phone. Upcoming events. The Franciscan Sisters of Mary have their prayer vigils on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of the month. The next one will be March 30th. There will be a viewing of the first Secret City. Has everyone in here seen, maybe, who has not seen Secret City? Well, you have an opportunity on April 7th at Schlafly Bottle Works, and on April 26th at Share Emmett. The information's up here. If anybody needs it, we'll have it on our Facebook. There's also going to be a lung cancer connection walk, and if anybody can participate in that or would like to donate, I think some of the moms are April 16th are going to go out and try to do the lung cancer walk. Also, the Relay for Life, which the moms participated in last year, was an amazing event, and we're going to try to get out and do that one again. That one is April 30th. And then the Earth Day Festival is April 24th on the Muni Grounds. So that information will also all be up on our website and Facebook page. I think most of you know that we went to Washington back in February 8th. Just Moms, the Missouri Coalition for the Environment, Franciscan Sisters of Mary, CHEJ, and Rabbi Talvi were there. There were a few of the community members as well as children that went with us. We were able to get in and speak with Congressman Blaine Lukemeyer and Senator Roy Blunt and Senator Claire McCaskill, as well as both of our Congress people, Ann Wagner and Lacey Clay. So we know that Senate Bill 2306 passed back in January, and we're still waiting for our House bill to pass, House Bill 4100. This gentleman right here, Congressman Pallone of New Jersey, seems to be holding up our bill. We have been calling him, emailing him daily. We've had some volunteers that have been reaching out to environmental groups. Anyone that has friends, family in New Jersey, we would like for you to call and ask them to be calling their congressman to get our bill passed. I think Dawn may talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. So keep up the phone calls.
Is he the only one?
Right now, he is the only person that is holding up the bill. Bipartisan, it depends on what day.
And what hour?
Hold on, well, we'll get to that in just a few minutes. I'm going to let Dawn talk about that. Let me make sure that I get through all of my stuff here. Okay, good.
Take it over.
So if you call Congressman Pallone's office, sometimes he's saying, well, EPA and the Army Corps oppose it. However, when there was a rumor that there was a letter written by the Army Corps of Engineers, which turned out to be false. So there's a lot of chasing the tail going around behind the scenes. We've heard that he has no problem with the bill, but he doesn't like on suspension. On suspension is when it goes through committee and there is, it's unanimous, so nobody has any comments, nobody has any problems with it. And, you know, that way it has to be a unanimous vote. If even one person opposes it, it can't go through on suspension, which means we'd have to have a hearing. If we go the route and we have a hearing, then we basically, I don't know if you guys are watching what's happening with Flint right now, but Republic shows up, EPA shows up, FUSRAP shows up, Exelon shows up, Koster shows up, and then we show up. So that's getting people out there, and it's, you know, you're taking a chance, basically. You're taking a chance. So we may end up having to go that route, and if we do, then we will. But we're hoping right now that we can get it on suspension. There really is no, one of the other rumors is that they're worried that this will be a taxpayer bill. This is a budget neutral bill. This bill is designed so that the responsible parties, Republic, Exelon, have to pay upfront. So the Army Corps of Engineers can go in and say, we want to do this test, this test, this test. Here's what it's going to cost. Write the check. Do it up front. So, which is why Republic and Exelon don't like this bill. That's why they don't like it.
That's why they put out that radio commercial.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So really, there is no real, what I'm trying to tell you is there's no real opposition against this bill. Anything that Frank Pallone puts out or anybody puts out can be shot down at this point. So let's hope that truth wins.
Is there any truth to his sister being some family?
His wife.
His wife.
Yeah, so
EPA.
he has a very strong connection to EPA through his wife. Now, some people have called EPA, Frank Pallone. Frank Pallone's wife was deputy chief and a congressional aide at EPA, a very high position, and yeah, right below Gina, a stone throws away from Gina McCarthy.
She's aware because his staff tells me all the time that there's no conflict of interest.
Right. So we hear the staff saying there's no conflict of interest. If you ask EPA says she no longer works there. So we can't even get a straight answer right now as to whether or not she still works there and what the connection is. But it's very clear that there is some kind of connection. We know that's been established. We just don't know what role it plays. And like Karen said, you could call tomorrow and get a different story. And it's very frustrating.
How long can they hold this up? Can this one person hold this up?
It's a game. They can hold, well, indefinitely, because as long as he holds his bill up and doesn't give the okay, it won't go through on suspension. Then it won't hit the floor. Now they can say, okay, let's just host a hearing, but again, I just described what a hearing looks like. We're taking a big gamble with a hearing. Will we take it? Absolutely, and you know what? We've moved bigger mountains. We've moved bigger mountains, so we may just have to go that route, and then that's when we all show up.
If he does a hearing, do you know what kind of notice period there is?
Probably typically 2 weeks notice, which is not enough for us, but we will do what we can. We will start another GoFundMe to get people there. We don't know if there is a hearing. They kind of decide who gets to speak. So we know that representatives from the community will be asked, but it's not like it is in the House of Representatives in Jeff City, if that makes sense, where it's more important to turn out a huge room full of people. In these hearings, on the federal side of things, it's more strategic. Right, it's a cold, hard hearing, basically. So, oops. So we'll see. I would recommend, how many of you guys watched the Flint, Michigan hearings this morning? You saw, okay, so then you saw Lacey Clay's very weak position. I would recommend calling Clay and Wagner at this point, because at the end of the day, we're doing a lot of work to get this bill passed. We are, the community phone calls. We've been asking for this how long now? How many years have we been asking for food wrap? It's their fault that they waited until this year, election year, to try and introduce legislation. So they better step to it, and they better start trading horses. They better start making deals and doing what politicians do in Washington to get this bill passed. It falls on them. They can't, you can blame Frank Pallone, but the truth is it's the legislators' fault for waiting too long to introduce this. So I guess if you're calling Clay and Wagner, what I would do is I'd say, what are you doing this week to get this bill passed? And I would say, what are you going to do if this bill doesn't pass to make EPA behave? Because we all watched Flint. We all watched what happened there. There seems to be nobody that can hold this agency accountable. So what makes them think that they can count on a good record of decision coming through, or a barrier, or whatever else has been promised? And we'll get into that. I want you guys, for all the new people, this is the area that's on fire, the middle of the North Quarry where the radioactive waste is. We've got some developments, but I wanted to show you guys this map so you could kind of be aware. Again, this is the area that's on fire. This is the North Quarry. So what's happening is the state of Missouri is making Republic put in new gas extraction wells. They're having a problem with the gases leaving the site. So they're having to upgrade again. So where you see these little blue lines here, see like right there? All these little blue lines are new wells that they're putting in. We're being told there might be a little bit of odor associated with this. But what I want you guys to understand, this site changes every week. Anybody that says this is in a managed state, just look at this. They're having to do new stuff to it. They are going to constantly be having to work on this site for however long this fire burns, which could be 6 to 10 years. Only God really knows how long this fire will go for. But this is the North Quarry now. So this is this middle area, even though it's flipped upside down. Okay? That they're working on. Brush fire, pictures from the brush fire, October 24th, 2015. As a response to that, the EPA ordered surface fire mitigation field work. This is March 1st. What we were not able to put on the slides, Debbie and I looked, we'll have to put it next meeting or we'll put it up on the website. In April 2014, the state's fire expert Todd Thalhammer put out a letter warning them that they could have a surface fire. So EPA is reacting now. They cannot seem to be proactive at this site to save their life or ours. The other thing that is going on with this is that some of the Pattonville Fire Department boys have a problem with it because they're only clearing the brush that has surface area radiation underneath it and next to it. So they're not clearing all of the brush at this site, therefore they really haven't mitigated any fire. As long as you leave tall trees in this area, trees that the Attorney General's people have found radiation in, you're still leaving a fire hazard at the site. When they announced that they were going to do this surface fire mitigation, I think we were all under the impression that all of the brush would be cleared, and that's not the case. So stay tuned, because there's a lot of objections going on behind the scenes. Yeah?
Does that mean the foot of rock is only going to be kind of scattered around
Uh-huh.
and there are no trees?
That's exactly, Google Earth it. It's really an asinine way to do it, I know. It's funny. It's
None of these guys have respirators.
no, they don't.
No breathing protection. It's just this nuclear particle flying in the atmosphere.
Well, and if you guys remember, That's important though, because if you remember, ATSDR came out and said this site has 20 times the normal amount of radon coming out of it. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. Yep. So we are worried about the workers. We are very worried about the workers at this site.
You know, radon is when the uranium deteriorates into lead and radon, right?
Radium is in gas form. When you inhale radon gas, you could have it in your basement at some levels. We're talking very high levels on this site because it's nuclear weapons waste. You inhale it, it gets in your lungs, then it turns into lead-210, and it stays that way for forever. So you are basically walking around with little mini reactors in your lungs. I mean, that's kind of what it is. So stay tuned with this.
Tom, if you live in somewhere like Spanish Village, how often should you have your basement, stuff like that, checked for radon? A whole lot more than normal, right?
Right, I don't know how far it's getting off the site. I would say this, I think it's important at this point for everybody to have their basement checked for radon. I don't know. I mean, that is, I know you can get free radon kits through the state of Missouri, and we can put that up on the website, where you can just, and it's free, and it comes in a little package, you set it there, and then you mail it back to them, and then they'll mail you their results. But I know that a radon mitigation system is pretty expensive, and there's some question about whether or not they really work the way they're designed to. I think they make it better, but I don't think they make it really good, if, you know, for what that's worth. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are interested, we'll put that in. I think Harvey, didn't Bill get those little handouts?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can make sure you
I'll
guys,
bring it to the next meeting, but
yeah, we'll bring them at the next
you
meeting.
can also go on to, I think it's CHS, that's the site.
Right.
But I'll bring the postcards. So postcard filled out, send it in, and send it to you.
Robert, do you want to talk about?
Free radon testing, and then you'll have a leak, and then you can just get it.
Right. Do you want to do the leachate right now, Robin? Do you want to talk about the leachate real quick? Yeah. Let's get some of your good photos up. Robin's been great going up there, constantly taking these photos, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what's going on with the leachate at this site. Her cute glasses. Do you want this, or do you want me to flip it for you?
Oh, I thought they were all together, so.
Yeah, look, they're all together. You just click it, and you just click forward and back.
All right. Okay, so I've assigned myself a little project since August of last year, and that's watching these lift stations, also known as pump stations, for the leachate that's coming out of the Bridgeton landfill. And I'm just going to give you a little rundown of what I have surmised since I've been watching this since August of last year, and that is that there's been problems with these lift stations. And they've been pulling pumps out of these lift stations since August 2015. In October 2015, following the pumps failing, we had a 10,000-gallon leachate spill at the back gate. Then in November of 2015, there were more pumps being pulled out of these lift stations. And I want you to know there are 2 pumps in each lift station, and there are 3 lift stations. There is an original lift station called the Westlake lift station behind the south gate on Banker. Then there are the newly constructed lift stations. One is at Banker in Hollenberg. That is a newly constructed lift station. It was constructed and online April of last year. So from April when it got online till August of that same year, they started having problems with the pumps. Now there are 2 pumps in each lift station, so there's 3 lift stations, that's 6 pumps. They've pulled out just about every dang one of them at $135,000 per pump. So that was November. In December, the pump station problem still persists. I'm about had enough of it. So in January, I noticed that there was a hose, similar to a fireman's hose, going across the road from the lift area behind the 10,000 or 100,000 gallon tank across the street to the Westlake station and down into it. And I thought, what in the heck is this? So I watched it for a few days, and then I called MSD and I spoke with their pump station division manager, Rob Daly. I asked him to explain the situation that I had witnessed with these looking like a fireman's hose going across the road. And he assured me that this was only a temporary condition and that they would be up and running soon, but at the meantime, they cannot use any of the other lift stations because there is a problem. He didn't want to elaborate. He said he's busy with the flooding going on in the Valley Park area, and that they would be getting to this up here with the lift stations in the next couple of weeks. So I noticed that in January, when I had talked to him, that I gave him 2 weeks, so it was the end of January. Things weren't changing any. The hose was still across the road. Things were still temporarily out of service. And now, Bridgeton Landfill is back to not only pumping it to Westlake and going to the Missouri River, it's no longer going to Bissell, but they're trucking it as well. They're back to trucking the leachate too. So in February, I saw that besides all of that, they are now having to replace valves. Unfortunately, I was not allowed to get a photograph of it. MSD would not allow me to take photographs of the valves that they are replacing close up, so I could only take them from a distance. But I will assure you that they looked every bit as gnarly and calcified as the pumps that they are pulling out of those lift stations. They are broken beyond repair. So I made another call to Mr. Daly and said, you know, you told me in January, here we are, it's March, going into April. You told me that this is only going to be a temporary service. Now we have pipes going on the exterior of the roadway. Sorry, boo-boo. Uh-oh.
Robin, I'll take it.
My apologies.
Robin, I'll get it.
There you go. There is a brand spanking new pump. The other ones were not as pretty as this one. So this is the new one. It is $135,000. So I had plenty of time. I've been dying to look at what's inside these trenches because they assured me they were not digging up the pipeline per se. So they're doing this, as you can see, looks like a hub right by the ladder where there's two white little hub areas. They're cutting out. And when they're cutting that section out, they are pumping water in, which Mr. Daly told me that that would be the final stage.
What's the other side?
All right, but that's not right.
Go to the left and right arrow.
Thank you. And here we are going across the road. It's a mess down there where I live. It's horrible. And when I was walking with MSD to ask him about this, how long this is going to be like this, I said, whoops, you got a leaker. Imagine that. I'm not amazed at all. So I quickly ran over there and got as good of a shot as I could because he was already on the walk. He's saying, shut it down, we have a leak. Now this is groundwater testing that's being done. And this isn't really, I know a lot of people seem to think that this was their way of hiding what they were doing, but actually it was quite windy that day and they are dealing with water, so it was wide open on the other side of the truck. So that is what is going on with these pump stations. Pipeline is still not working, and I'm still watching.
I have a question for Robin. Originally, when the pipeline was put in, the one going down St. Charles Broad Road, my understanding is that the public services paid for it, but once it was in and certified by MSD took over maintenance responsibility and all the expenses associated with that. Now they're being paid by Public Services for taking the materials, but nonetheless they're responsible for the maintenance. Did you get any feeling for who's paying for those pumps?
I have, because I've even asked MSD. I said, I was told that those pumps were specially designed between DNR and Republic Services, and MSD had no input in the design or the building of these. And they were done by a German company. And so when these pumps were breaking, I said, hey guys, what you gonna do since you're sending them all back to Germany? What are you gonna do in the meantime? And he says, well, we have found a place locally to send the pumps. Well, I want to tell you what, that blue baby that you saw, that isn't from here. I checked on that company. The name is Sulzer, S-U-L-Z-E-R. You cannot see it here, but on another picture I took a good picture of the name. And that's a Swiss company, but they are building these pumps in Germany as well as Russia and China. So, yes, that is, they found one place locally to repair them, but I guess for total replacement, they're having to go abroad. But it's still on our dime as far as I'm concerned, because if it's coming out of MSD's pocket, it's coming out of my pocket.
We'll get it back,
What is the purpose of the pumps?
This is so that they do not have to haul the leachate by truck. The leachate is the landfill juice that's being produced by all of the waste matter that's decaying along with the water that percolates through that landfill, and it's very toxic. It has tons of VOCs in there. It's so caustic and toxic that everybody is really afraid to touch it. It's so powerful that even after pre-treatment, it is still clogging up pumps, breaking them, valves. And so now, Republic has to build another 100,000 gallon tank so that they can further, a million gallons to further refine it. So it's no longer going to be as caustic as it is. We'll see. I mean, it's worth a try.
If I may, just put that into perspective. Before the fire, I'm Harvey Furman from Bill Otto's office, State Representative Bill Otto's office, in case anyone doesn't know me. Prior to the fire, the leachate production was 30 to 50,000 gallons a week. Post-fire, or with what's going on now, it's over 2 million gallons a week of leachate coming out of that site. So they built 4 1 million gallon tanks on site to pre-treat it, and now they're finding out that the stuff is so caustic that it's causing problems with those tanks, and they're building another tank to pre-treat before they can even put it into those tanks.
We're going to talk in a minute about OU3, why this is a big deal about what's going on with the groundwater at the site. Actually, yeah, let me go into this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Can I get your questions in just 2 minutes? Let me talk. This is ridiculous, and this will take 2 minutes. It really will. This is the EPA facilitator. So in addition to a CAG, Community Advisory Group, which we have to have for EPA to show up and talk to us because they don't have to talk to us like this, and this group, the EPA feels that everything wrong with what has happened at this site has to do with communication issues. So they have hired 2 people to come in and work on helping everybody communicate better. Because that's what's wrong with this. It's not funny, but Jay's making me laugh. I mean, we have decided, Just Moms has decided that we are not part of that. That's ridiculous, that's a waste of time, and it's a waste of taxpayer money. And so the CAG, Doug Clemens through the CAG, and Jay's going. So we've got plenty of people to go who will explain to them how we can communicate better and how we can fix that. Yes.
Was that by invitation only, or, well, I mean, I was kind of told it was by invitation only.
Sort of, it was designed to get the troublemakers in a room together. They're interested in the people that cause trouble, of which I guess you could call us that, because we hold these meetings like this.
Well, it was held on our city council night.
Yeah, which was not a good, and I heard,
They walked in,
Somebody
they just
had
walked
to
in, so.
approve them to use it.
well,
They had to approve the city,
Well,
or the
they
community
paid-
center
yeah,
for
they
them
did.
to use it.
They-
Who approved that?
That goes through the city.
So somebody in the city approved, even though they knew it was a council night, we're gonna have
Oh,
that meeting.
they did not realize it was a council night, or did not know.
well, either way, just so you know, this is going on. It really was silly. There weren't that many people there, and really, The consensus is we want the Army Corps of Engineers. This is kind of their last ditch effort. Behind the scenes, just so you know, if I were to put up that picture of Frank Pallone one more time, one of the things that's being said is, well, I know that, you know, things have gone south at the site, but that's all communication problems, and we're fixing the communication. So once again, if you watch the Flint thing today, EPA is taking no responsibility for any of what's happening at this site. They're simply stating it's a communication issue, and that's why we're upset.
That's why they don't have reviews.
That's right. So moving on, this is a big waste of time, and I'm glad Debbie's recording it because I'm sure I'll get a phone call from him
Well,
tomorrow.
every month they have a different approach and different excuse why this is that or that or this. This is just their new one by 30.
I swear to you, if we go back real quick and talk about our DC trip, I'm going to use Ann Wagner. Ann Wagner, she was funny about it, but she was mad. She's like, I'm really tired of playing the game rope-a-dope with them. I mean, that's what she said. She said, it is a different excuse every time. And we heard this from the Democrats, too. This is one thing that they agree on. How often is that? They agree. This ridiculousness with EPA is way more than a communication issue. They have made mistakes at this site similar to what's happened at Flint. And now they're seeing them play out. Every time somebody sinks a shovel, they're finding more radiation. Wait till we get into the groundwater at this site. The groundwater is now its own Superfund site, you guys. Remember that just in 2008, they passed a record of decision at this site to leave the waste there, and they didn't look at the groundwater. They didn't consider that. And now they're coming back in 2016 and saying the groundwater is so bad because of the leachate and the fire and the radioactive waste that it's now its own Superfund site. No, and we haven't even talked about the other radioactive site that's next to this that's even hotter. Yes.
You said the EPA decided to leave from the record decision, they decided to leave the waste there. What would the alternative be? Because they couldn't exactly kick out by train because nobody wants that going through their backyard. They can't exactly truck out because nobody wants that.
Well, did you know that he said, what's the alternative, since he said he doesn't feel like it's possible to train or truck this waste out. What I will tell you is we've got trains that are leaving probably tomorrow or Monday from not even 3-4 miles away with radioactive waste in them. It's being dug out. If you read the news and you see all the parks in North County, I mean, I think Jesse and Stu and them, they've got some great pictures up of the trucks that are putting dirt and whatnot, radioactive materials in these trains and trucking them out. This has been going on for 15 years. We're up past 13,000. I think we're 16,000, right?
Yeah, over 1 million cubic, way
Oh,
over 1 million cubic.
Over 1 million cubic yards for the past 15 years has been shipped out of St. Louis, cleaning up these radioactive waste sites. The same radioactive waste that's with 0 accidents. So yeah, it is possible to do it. And they will put it on trucks the same way that they're trucking the leachate now, which is much more dangerous in my opinion.
Marvel, that TV show on cable network, they have a show that they show you what they haul radioactive material in. They'll show that thing up, they'll put it on a train, and they'll crash that train into another train coming into it, and this container suffers no damage at all.
And it's not explosive. Remember that this radioactive material that they're digging out of, they just dug out of St. Cyn Park, they're in Duchesne Park now, digging it out in North County. This stuff is not explosive, you guys. It's dirt with radioactive waste in it. Your leachate that's leaving the site, that's got some VOCs in it that are flammable. What's going through the pipeline, that's a little scary too.
If you want to see the train cars, go up on McDonnell Douglas Boulevard, and you can see them right there if you're familiar with Laddy Avenue side.
Right.
The slab side is there, and there's some train cars on there.
Dunstan area.
And, yeah, but,
So you can actually go and see and watch them put this in trains. I want to touch on Senate Bill 600 real quick. I don't want to get in a big discussion with this bill, but I want to say this, because this has been thrown out. We, the moms, we did not write that bill with Maria Chappelle-Nadal. We had nothing to do. That bill came out and caught us off guard. There were parts of that were good. We would like those living closest in Spanish Village to be voluntarily bought out. That is what they're asking for. Karen and I are not in that area, so we are not part of that, but that is what they have asked. When a bill is introduced, such as the hearing that we may have on our bill for HR 4100 in Washington, you have the ability to go and testify. You can submit written reports. If anybody has a problem with the bill, there's just a rough draft. That is when you take part in the political process and you write your concerns down and you submit it to the committee. So that is what we were telling people. For all these people that are really angry about this bill, none of them went to Jeff City and talked about it. None of them wrote in about it, and that's a shame. It's very difficult to be part of the process when you're just posting on Facebook, okay? You have to actually engage. We're more than happy to help you and help anyone figure out who they need to call, but really, the bill 600, that's Maria Chappelle Nadal's bill, that's the senator's bill, and any questions should be directed straight to her.
I did just want to say that it has been amended, and it pretty much only includes Spanish billing.
Right.
I think, so.
It is, and that was thanks to the people who went down and testified, which we had a lot of people there. That bill ended up being changed and amended and being more specific to Westlake and specifically to the Spanish Village people. So yeah, that is why it's important to be involved in this process. I'm gonna move on. Rules of politics real quick. I know you guys saw a lot of political crap on the page. When we went to Washington, we met with Democrats and Republicans, and if there would have been a Libertarian, we'd have been in his office too. This issue, I don't care who fixes it, as long as it gets fixed. We take every opportunity, we say the same things, we show the same maps, the same data, the same letters to everybody. Even people that are running for office who are not yet elected, but have an interest in running in this area, and we will continue to do that. You know, we will get this material in front of everybody we can, any opportunity we can, and that includes Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't matter to us. This is, last time I checked, radiation didn't care. It really didn't, and so that's why we do what we do.
And I would like to add to that, you guys don't know this, but behind the scenes, Dawn and I get beat up pretty darn bad. And we have had some members on the Facebook page that have said that they would leave the page because of one, putting up the Clinton event. We did put up all events that have come into St. Louis that we were aware of. And I just want everybody to know that I did create the Westlake Landfill Facebook, and I did that so that I could educate other people to learn and promote awareness of this issue. Like Dawn said, we don't care who fixes this, but somebody needs to fix this.
Amen.
And I don't care anybody else's opinion. If you do not like what's on the page, then leave. Because it is taking up a lot of our time, and that's just, we walk a very fine line. We don't want it to be political, but it is. It's election time, and we're doing our best. So if there's anybody out there that can do it better or have better suggestions on how we're dealing with this, I would like to talk to them.
Right. And it's going to get worse, just so you know. We have primaries coming up, we're going to have an election, a presidential election. You wouldn't believe how many people want us to post stuff, and we're just like, no, we're not posting that. Even just people running for office, asking to use the page.
To give you an idea, usually when we post something pretty important, we get 100 likes. The Clinton event where we were able to hand him our book that we posted has, I think, almost 700 likes. Where are these people? So you know they're looking. They're lurking on the page, they're watching.
We know they're making phone calls.
They're making phone calls. You know, I think everybody is doing a great job pitching in and trying to save this community and protect our kids. Again, we don't care who fixes it. We don't care at this point whose fault it is. Just do something. The EPA today, Gina McCarthy, and I don't know how many of you watched the hearing that went on today, they take no blame for what happened at Flint. 100,000 people have been affected by what happened at Flint. And they take no blame for that. Their answer is, well, we could have probably done more. But no, they will not say, I have to say that Governor Snyder, he was blasted today as well, and he admitted their faults. Not Gina McCarthy, not the person that we need to be in front of, not the person that's been ignoring the moms, that's been ignoring our senators and our Congress members. She takes no fault. Who's going to save our kids? Who's going to save us? We have one choice, and it's FUSRAC. And maybe they're not the best, I don't know, but it's all we have. We have no protection from the EPA.
No.
Their definition of protection is a facilitator. That's what they're doing to protect us. Those pipes, those pumps that Robin were talking about, she has a picture of one that's highly corrosive. You look at those, that's our water, not that we're drinking, but that's our water compared to Flint's pipes. Have you looked at theirs? And it allows to go on. Flint is getting nothing right now. They're still not helping those people. It's just allowed to go on. So who's going to save our kids?
We're trying to prevent as best we can what's going on Flint from happening here. We have for 3 years now, because it is clear that if the worst were to happen, if the fire were to hit the waste here at this site, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen, but they know it's not good, you guys, and they'll tell you that behind the scenes. But yet you watched a hearing today where these people need help. You can do a blood test and see that they've been exposed, and yet they're not getting help. So again, we need to do what we can to prevent something like that from happening.
10,000 of those 100,000 are children under the age of 6 that have been affected, that will be affected for the rest of their life. And nobody's doing anything at this moment.
Having hearings.
Having hearings to point fingers at each other and do what?
And that's a good conversation right there to have with Lacey Clay and Ann Wagner tomorrow when you guys pick up the phone. That's a good conversation to have, just what Karen said. Say it just like that. What are you doing? Because it does fall on them.
Are there any questions?
Can I just say, I'm tired of you guys having to defend yourself about this political job. To me, don't even waste your time. If someone doesn't like it, you're fine. I mean,
We spent
you spend too much time.
We
worrying about
spent
this stuff.
the most of the day that Clinton came, I can't even remember the day, deleting comments, deleting people, because they were so mean. There is just no other word about it. They were mean people. So, yeah, we don't have time. We don't have the energy for that. Delete.
Run them off as they are, let it go.
Well, it's pretty obvious, you guys were just so excited, because he was receptive to you.
Right.
And it doesn't matter who he is to us. And I don't know that he read that book. Who knows if he read it? He may have thrown it in the garbage. It doesn't matter.
How often you get a book into someone's hands?
Well, and you know what? Let's say he doesn't read it. Guess what? We have a photo that he had it, right, in his hands. So where's the excuse? He's now linked to this site. There's a photo of him taking the book. And that, for nothing other than that, it was worth it.
Do you still want everybody to go to all? I don't care if they're from Africa, if they're gonna help us, I don't care.
That's
Because their government may not be ours, but if he can do something. So,
That's right.
should we still be going to these?
Yes, we need to be visible. Everywhere that there's an elected official, an event, somebody needs to be there, showing a sign, saying, we're not going away. Wear your shirt. We're not going away. We should be in everyone's face all the time.
And what we're doing, there comes a point where you think the story is so strong that they're going to do it out of the goodness of their heart.
No.
You know what? Sometimes they're going to do it out of embarrassment, and the other time they're going to do it because they are watching what's happening in Flint, and they don't want to be linked by an email a year from now, having one of you guys call their offices or email them, letting them know, hey, this is going on, what are you doing about it?
And they are watching the page.
Yeah.
If one of us puts something up that's has any attention to it whatsoever, we're getting a phone call. 5 minutes.
Everybody.
Anybody.
EPA.
EPA.
State, Attorney General's office.
EPA is watching.
If we get angry and we want to say something to them, sometimes we'll put up a post. It's quicker than a phone call, and more people see it and it's public, and then they see it and they know.
The only thing that they can do it, it's just because they would be afraid for their own place they're sitting on.
That's right.
That's not nothing. They have no goodness in their hearts, so how can they act from the goodness?
What are?
Exactly.
Right. We have options as far as investigating them goes. That's another thing. We have options. There is the Inspector General. There are routes that we have not taken yet that we may have to, as a community, sit down and discuss. Because we may have to get nastier than we've been. I think we've been pretty polite.
I think that it would draw a lot of media's attention if there was an investigation of EPA and they forced them to act.
Well, and it would also force the elected officials who are linked to this site to act, because, again, all these email chains would be called
EPA
in.
is forced to act in Michigan. What are they doing? Nothing. So it's just the only ones who want the office or who are in the office and afraid for that's just the only, that's what I say, it's not the mind or development, it's to be scared, fright. Maybe the person out of the, you know, and the fright is going to be the only moving force that can make them move, if they're afraid.
Right.
And they're not afraid that a million or 100 people are going to get sick. They're going to be afraid of their own paycheck.
And their own legacy.
Yeah.
And this being tied to their legacy.
That's legacy, they're not really, they don't have anything to be worried about. They have no legacy. So,
yes, this gentleman behind you, then Dan.
Hi, my name is Keith Savage, and I've actually been tracking this for 2.5 years. I forced my sister to move my niece and nephew from down the street. I'm a business owner. So I figured out how to get to the school district and away from me. And I don't live here, but I go to church in Grace, and I work at one of my businesses, work at SSM by the landfill, and I'm thinking, how did that just happen? So that's a short term. I actually have a solution that I was wanting to present to the public, and I started 2 weeks ago. And for those of you who have something to write with, I want you to go to this site. Because I met with Chris Nagel, with the Department of Natural Resources, and I got the runaround from him. And it was interesting. And I actually helped develop yes, https://world.sharefile.com/
Hold on.
I got you, I know, that's why I got it.
Is there a short version?
You know what, you may be able to give it to Debbie as you're talking, if you walk back there and she can put it up on the
This
screen.
is what I've been told by the Department of Natural Resources. They don't want to tear the tarp. They don't want to release any more odor out in the community. And they don't believe that there's anything that can solve this problem. And they want a reference. I sent everything that I had to the Department of Natural Resources, which I'm going up in person on the 6th of April, to get a guy to look at the label. He never looked at it because the questions he asked, and then he said to me, well, we can't tell him what to do. There is a solution, and it's very cost effective. It's not even going to cost anywhere close to $200,000. And it doesn't use any more water. It uses less water than what you're running with now. So I just want to share with you. I've sent this letter to the Fire Protection District, the mayor, and the public. The solution is an encapsulate. That's what it's called. It smothers it. And then nothing comes out of the earth. It doesn't, no more holes have to be drilled. And I was surprised to hear they're drilling gas lines today.
Well, they have to pump it out because otherwise it leaves the site through the side of the
Right,
landfill.
well, they said they had that in check. That's what they told me.
Yeah.
So, I'm saying,
You're not the only one.
I do have a solution. I've been working on this for 2 years. And I don't even live here. I just work in here.
What was the
There's
rest?
no foam. Foam does not work. It's a gas. And it evaporates the gas. That's the easiest way to wrap it.
Get that
It
link,
takes out,
they
you'll
still
see.
wait
I will.
to see that.
I will.
Yeah,
And
Like
you'll
the
see
summer
how
on a
that-
candle.
And it's worked in other landfills, because that's what Chris Nagel told me. He needed something that worked in another landfill. So I actually found it. So getting it to the right people to give me the audience. And I'm going to meet with a PR firm that works for Republic, which I just found out from Harvard today who they are, because I have access to it. Because everyone in my world, we're shocked why no one wants to solve it.
Because there's more there than what they want to admit.
So that's all I have, and I'll get back to the rest.
I appreciate that. I will say this, and I think many of you who've called DNR, your story and the way they respond, it's very typical and it's very disappointing. We have an EPA problem, but the state of Missouri could be doing much better.
And they own the landfill.
That's right, and this is in their jurisdiction, and we can't forget that. That is why I'm so excited that Robin got up and presented. You know, there are so many pieces. We could have a group just focused on the emissions. And we could have a group just focused on the groundwater and the leachate and what's in that. And then we could have a group just focused on the radioactive waste in one area, and then we haven't talked about the other area that's 10 times hotter and bigger. So this thing is huge, and you know, any outreach that you can do to the state, any way we can help, we'll try. But I guarantee, I think Bill Otto's your best avenue, because they're not going to listen to us, I'll tell you that much. We call and they're kind of like, oh man. Great. Okay, are there any more questions? Yes, you've been waiting.
I just wanted to, I'm still struggling to understand the significance of the leachate thing. So the leachate can't stay in the landfill if it would overflow or something?
The landfill, Debbie, can you pull the slide up that has the picture of the landfill? Do we have we don't have a side image of it on this one, do we?
That's the ooze, right?
Yeah, so this landfill, this is a limestone quarry, the whole thing. And so the groundwater goes in and out of this site. And the groundwater is really shallow because it's in the floodplain. So this leachate exists within the groundwater. It's like a giant toilet bowl. So it moves in and out of the site, taking the leachate with us. If you leave the leachate inside the landfill, then it goes out with the groundwater and gets into the river. And it leaves, which it's already doing. They just don't know the extent of the plume yet. So stay tuned for that. So that is why it has polluted the groundwater now to such a degree that it's its own Superfund site. I mean, there's arsenic, there's just some incredibly dangerous things in this leachate because it's not a normal landfill. You have to remember, this is an old, unlined, unregulated landfill from the 1940s and 50s. So this has industrial waste in it. That's why it's a Superfund site.
And so they've actually now designated another Superfund site? Like technically it's been done?
This site is, Deb, can you, well here, there's OU1, see there's OU1 right there? Yeah, I'll use this. There's OU1 right here, which is an area of radiation, okay? OU2, there's another much larger area of radiation over here, okay, on the surface. Now this entire site, underneath the groundwater is now OU3, meaning that it's its own section, it's its own Superfund site, it needs its own remedy, if you will. It's so bad that it's going to have some sort of remedy. Something's going to have to be done to address it, basically.
So they still haven't changed the borders though, I mean, like to bring that all under the jurisdiction of the EPA then?
No, and that is something that we have really been pushing. As they find radiation off-site, which the Attorney General is saying they have, and as the groundwater is moving off-site, which we know it has, pulling with it and taking with it the leachate, we asked, will they expand the boundary? And we're not getting an answer, but that's a key question.
So OU3 is beyond, I mean, like, that's not, OU3 is not under the jurisdiction of EPA then?
It is. It is under the jurisdiction of the EPA as a portion of their Superfund site. It is now OU3 of their Superfund site, or Area 3.
But OU3 isn't on this map, like, because it actually is on land. It's under.
Yeah, it's under this map. OU3, this is a topical, this is a looking down from the top-down view of the site. This whole area over here, I mean, the actual boundary of the site, we're just showing you the Bridgeton area and the North Quarry. The actual site goes like this.
Dawn, I'll pull up a better one.
Underneath the Westlake landfill,
It's underneath the entire site.
then why is the state in charge of the Westlake landfill? I mean, if that's, if the OU3 is under there, shouldn't the EPA in charge of the entire region, like surrounding it?
So yes, that's our theory too. What she's saying is, if the groundwater is now underneath the whole entire site, let me make sure I'm getting this right, then an EPA is in charge of OU3, which is all the groundwater. That moves their purview through the whole site, even the area that's now experiencing the fire. Yep.
And
That's
so-
why they didn't want to answer us.
My other question about this is like, then
That's
at
why
the
they
end,
need OU3,
so where is it going then? Are they taking the trucks or when they put it, they were pumping it, where does it go after that?
They have another landfill in Roxana, Illinois, that I think that they're taking some of this to, but
But it's,
wherever will accept it.
so we don't know when it's going to.
Yeah, they were for a while shipping it to Canada. For a while, this was like a year and a half ago, and maybe closer to 2 years ago, it was going to Canada for a... Donna, do you have...
Just this aquifer that is underneath the landfill and our city and miles in every direction, the Mississippian aquifer is one of the biggest ones in the state.
So that's the water table.
Yes.
Right.
It's huge, it's extremely important.
That's why the fact that they're admitting that the
It's not just a little
groundwater...
pond under there.
No.
It's the entire water supply of North County pretty much.
No, we have a huge aquifer underneath this site. Donna's right. So when you talk about this groundwater being that bad, and now we have an OU3 with the groundwater, keep that in mind. This is an aquifer.
Contaminate a little
No.
nearby creek or something. you know,
Right.
it's-
It gets into the aquifer, it has free reign to go in all directions. I mean, there's no fixing that, you
Any other thing
guys.
about the leachate? If you go to the EPA site and just search, they have tons of information about leachate and how it's managed and what's in it and how dangerous it is. And EPA will tell you of all the creepy things that come out of landfills, nothing is more contaminated and dangerous than the leachate. It
Right.
carries it all in a very concentrated
And
bag.
that's in a normal landfill. That's not even just in our landfill, you guys. That's in a normal landfill with garbage peels, you know, banana peels and kitchen trash. So you have to keep in mind, we have kind of the worst of the worst, yeah. I'm so sorry.
This has all been
Somebody
handed
tell me
over,
to get this guy.
if this has all been handed over to the Army Corps of Engineers, why are we even having to deal with EPA at all?
It hasn't been handed over to them yet. And
Has
even
it been
then,
loose wrapped or whatever?
not yet. Our bill, our second part of our bill has to pass in the House. Frank Pallone has to move and get out of the way so we can pass it in the House. And then it goes through and becomes signed into law.
Baby steps.
Right.
I remember seeing somebody exclaiming, oh, it passed, but I just glanced and I didn't realize that it didn't mean we're in.
No, it passed the Senate.
Okay.
We moved to the big mountain, now we have to move another. Even though with the Army Corps of Engineers, kind of going back to what this lady mentioned, the Army Corps will only deal with the radioactive waste on this site. This will still be a Superfund site, so all of the chemicals and everything in the groundwater, that will still be under EPA's purview. So then there's nothing we can do about that, unless there's significant contamination in the groundwater from radiation, in which case the Army Corps may work with that. But for now, all we have is the Army Corps taking over the radioactive waste. Some things, like the fire at this site, it's still a big deal, it's a really big deal, but they become more manageable if you remove, if this didn't have radioactive waste in it. That's what's complicating a lot of the site. Right, site. You still have a Superfund site burning. Dan, I'm sorry.
I'm Dan Hyde for those who don't know me. My question is one of the powerful tools that we have is the Sunshine Law.
I'm gonna hold it, I guess.
I'm Dan Hyde. One of the powerful tools I think we have is the Sunshine Law. Are we using the Sunshine Law because Republic is a quasi-government agency bound by the Sunshine Law? These state agencies are bound by the Sunshine Law. The sewer district is bound by Sunshine Law. And if we say this is for the community good, they can't charge us. So we can nail them down and either get the documents or say, we asked, you said they didn't exist, so either you violated the Sunshine Law or, yeah. So are we using that, or is there any plans to use that?
Yes, but I just heard you volunteer to take up. I just heard you volunteer.
I second it.
And if somebody wants to help him with it, because we have to a certain extent, but these are a lot of documents. They'll give it to you on a disk and it's raw data. We can read the raw data now. We're more than happy to sit down with you. Jay Black, former chemist, what, FDA? Jay would be more, I'm sure, than helpful to look over it. It's too.
Work with the radioactive, with the CDR and the weapons of mass destruction, pick this stuff up and carry it away. That was 50 years ago. He's still here.
Yeah. So Jay knows a thing or two about it. I mean, there's people here, if someone wants to volunteer to do that, but we simply do not have the time. We'll go over it, we'll teach people. Donna can help a little bit how to read it and what you're looking for and what the MCL levels should be versus what they are. We'll go there, but if someone would volunteer, that would be helpful.
What's your success rate of Sunshine Corporation? How do you do that?
It's a quasi-government agency because their contracts are with the government, therefore they're a quasi-government agency and they're bound by the Sunshine Law.
Well,
You have contracts with
no, they have.
I don't think so.
We'll have to check on that, but it's worth checking on.
We'll find out when it's been
All
done.
utilities are quasi-government agencies, and they're like a utility.
It's worth looking into. We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
I think we went through.
Yeah, hang on.
Hey, Dad, that's not NET, that's HCT. That's why it's not coming.
HCT, okay.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
yeah.
Okay, so some ways that you can help. Help us grow the institutions that support FoodRap in Washington, D.C. We need businesses, churches, nonprofit organizations, unions, governments, and more. We already have support from Patmos School District, DePaul Hospital, Patmos Fire Protection District, St. Louis County Council, and St. Charles County Council, among others, I think, that are North County Inc.
The list just grows every
Yeah,
day.
the list is growing. If you have anybody that you can get to help support the transfer to FoodRap by calling Cologne or whatever else needs to be done, you can contact Ed Smith with the coalition, or you
So
can
did it work?
reach out to us and let us know. We do have accomplishments, although it seems as though it's taking forever. Most of you in this room probably know what all of these are, have seen them at one point. We've gotten the Attorney General filed a lawsuit. We've gotten 24/7 comprehensive air monitoring. Department of Health and Senior Services now uses more cautious exposure values for human health risks. Missouri Department of Natural Resources began citing Republic Services, the landfill owner, for violations. Federally elected officials authored 2 letters to the EPA concerning the radioactive waste. EPA hired the Army Corps of Engineers to help evaluate the radioactive waste. Acknowledgement of problems in the EPA's 2008 record of decision for the site. Dr. Robert Chris wrote a report about the dangers of this site, and the USGS conducted a groundwater study. I'm going to read them. The reviewing of any health data by the Department of Health and Senior Services. We have gained the support of several large organizations and the local government in our request to have the Army Corps of Engineers take over this site. A health study is being initiated, has already been done, for St. Louis County due to ongoing landfill emissions. Federally elected officials authored a letter to DOE, Department of Energy, requesting them to reconsider this site as part of the Army Corps Cleanup Program FoodRap. We marched in D.C. and met with elected officials concerning this site. In 2014, we became an official nonprofit organization. In 2012, our Facebook page titled Westlake Landfill was started and now has 18,000 members, not 10,000. An official health survey conducted by St. Louis County will survey the people who live near the landfill due to the ongoing gas emissions, which has already been completed. We do not know the results. We need people to do op-ed letters, letters to the editor, in and out of state newspapers. We need volunteers to attend those functions that Tara mentioned. We do this to bring awareness to those running for political office that will be inheriting when they are elected to their office. President, vice president, governor, basically everyone in the world. We do have our goals. I would like to remind you of our 3 goals. The safe and permanent solution for the radioactive waste at Westlake Landfill transferred to the Army Corps of Engineers. FUSRAP, voluntary buyout of all residents within 1 mile of the fence line property of the landfill, and a property assurance plan for 3 to 5 miles from the landfill property. Any more questions?
What did the EPA say in response to the Hickson study?
Nothing. Nothing. Crickets. Silence. What did the EPA say in result of the Hickson study?
We have elevated levels of lead-210 that Robert Alvarez and Lucas Hickson and I think Marco Kaltofen found surrounding Westlake Landfill and in and out of North County. Do you remember the radon gas that we talked, Remember the radon gas that we talked about that the site has an excess of? Radon does not stay radon, it doesn't stay a gas, it decays into lead-210.
Radioactive.
Which is a radioactive isotope, and then it goes places. This is like putting a toddler in a corner and walking away. I mean, it's not just going to stay there. It's going to go where the water takes it. Other sites around the country that have problems with radon, such as ours, have found, so the EPA does know, that lead-210 is found in ditches. It accumulates in low-lying areas where the water takes it, basically. And lo and behold, it's never been tested for off-site. They did this test, it was independent, and they found areas off-site. They also, I think, tested a few homes in North County and found elevated levels of lead-210 above the cleanup standard. So there is a cleanup level that EPA and FUSRAP has established for this isotope. So we do have areas that are in exceedance of that outside of the landfill. And no, EPA has not commented.
Anything, it's just something I've observed over the last 2 or 3 months. When I talk about the PRPs now, something like DOE is kind of been tossed out there. In the letters that Mary Peterson wrote, it said PRPs, Cotter, and Exelon, and Republic, and I'm like, where is DOE in this story? And now, even when you hear the conversation about the PRPs, that one's being left out. Does anybody have a clue what's going on there, or why they're no longer considered?
Right before I came here, I looked at an email from Ben Washburn. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. Answering some questions, I guess, from the facilitator meeting. And DOE is listed as a PRP.
They are listed in there?
Yeah, it was Bridgeton LLC, DOE, Exelon, Rock Road Industries.
When they did that order, the executive order from Maryland, it didn't list them at all. Like this fire.
I think it was just coincidence.
Just an error. Oops. They make errors. The other thing, one other accomplishment that I didn't even mention was the passing of Senate Bill 2306 or whatever it was.
And all these accomplishments have been within the last 5 years.
Okay.
What's EPA?
It wasn't showing.
0.
There's a major organization.
I mean, if you want to try.
They got funding for the facilitators.
The other thing I wanted to mention was for those of you that were aware or attended or participated in the tribunal, we do have a letter that was sent to the United Nations, and we are waiting right now for confirmation on a date for us to get our information delivered. So we're just waiting back to hear on that. Are there any other questions, concerns, comments?
Could you please put the slide back on with the contact for that train Colombi?
Yes. Do we have contact on Colombi?
No, but,
If you Google them, it comes up.
yeah.
Yeah, it's on our website.
PALLONE.
Yeah, there's email addresses and phone numbers for staff. Janice Moore.
It is 202-225-4671. That's his DC office. You can talk to Janice Fuller or Brian McLaughlin.
Maybe he wants all the funds for his university.
He could, but then he doesn't understand how this bill works. And that is the frustrating thing, is that this was a very well-crafted bill. I mean, it really was. It took a long time to write it. It's passed the CRS, which is the Congressional Research Service. That is a service filled with nothing but lawyers that look over bills, make sure they're legal, make sure that they're factual, make sure that they can be implemented the way they're written, or do they need changes. This bill passed, and both Republicans and Democrats use that service. So he doesn't have an argument. I mean, if they gave their stamp of approval on it, then it's good to go. So I don't know what the issue with Frank Pallone is, but there is one.
Anything else? Sue? We actually, when we were in Washington, very last minute, Rabbi Talby actually called his office, and a group of us, I wasn't included in it, Dawn was, went and sat down with his newly appointed chief of staff. I don't know his title.
He was kind of let behind the ears.
He had only been there for 2 weeks, but they did talk to him. You guys also gave him a book, I think, right? He is very educated, or has had the opportunity to be educated on the issue.
Right, this is a smart man, and this isn't, we went through everything. We had everything that I mentioned to you. You know, you don't have to worry about the budget. We've got viable PRPs, this and that. They got it, they understood it. So they seemed to say that they hadn't had enough time to really research the bill, and that was why. So now we've got a month, and we'll see.
The latest that we're hearing is that he doesn't have a problem with the bill. He has a problem with the process. He wants it to go before a hearing, which is what is supposed to happen. He wants to play by the rules, and
How long has he been in office? Is he a long-termer, or is he?
he's been there for a while. I don't know the length exactly, but it's been quite a while.
What's his wife's position?
Deputy Director of
Congressional Liaison.
She reports directly to Gina McCarthy.
Yep, she's a lobbyist.
Gina McCarthy is the Federal Administrator of EPA. Yes?
Do we have the proper information for Mr. Savage's website so we can finish
Yes.
writing it down?
It timed out, because when I left, I did something crazy, so my assistant is fixing it right now. I saw that Debbie put it up, and I'm like, oh, I hit the wrong button. So, yeah, it's gonna be up and running within 15 minutes. She's doing it from home right now. And Debbie put it on the screen, and if you need it, you can email me, and I'll email it to anybody that wants to.
We can put a link up on our website too, so
I'll
that
get
you
it to
can view
Harvey.
it.
I'll get it to Harvey.
All right.
Any other questions? Oh.
You ready to do that real quick? Yeah.
Also, I don't know, we have t-shirts out there that people have purchased that have been waiting on them. See, Megan, make sure you get your t-shirt if you've paid for it or you need to pay for it or whatever.
Yeah, so St. Louis Public Radio reached out to Jesse. Is Jesse here? Jesse, can you raise your hand, and Sandra back there? Jesse, if you guys, they want anybody who's having issues with the odor, any breathing problems. They also want anybody that's willing to tell their personal story that lived, I think, around the creek or lived anywhere in North County in which they may have been exposed to radioactive waste. This is both about the emissions from Westlake and I think about the illnesses throughout North County and in this area. So if anybody has a story or feels comfortable, you know, the contact information's here at the bottom. Anything. It could be anything emission-wise, it could be living next to Westlake, it could be living near Coldwater. They don't care. What they want to do is something that we feel is really important, which is put faces to these numbers. Yeah. personal stories, and those matter, I can tell you.
Speaking of faces, Kristen Camuso has the Humans of Westlake, and she's telling the story through photographs. If anyone would like to share their story and have her photograph you, please reach out to her. It's very, very powerful. It's not always the words that need to be said, it's the faces that need to be seen.
And I want to, real quick, before we close, so there's Just Moms. We've got a lot of new groups forming to handle this. I mean, it's really an exciting time because, like we said earlier, we need help. We need all the help we can get. We've got SWAT, or maybe SWAT, St. Louis Red Waste Action Team. We've got Missouri Accountability Project Group. I don't think Drew's here, but be on the lookout because these are all other groups that are forming to help. Because like we said, this is huge, guys. This is a huge situation, and it's just moderating a page with 18,000 people is really time consuming on us, and trying to figure out where our bill is and all this stuff. We welcome any help.
Did you try to address WashU to give you some interns to help with social media?
Sure. We do have a, I can't remember which school she's from. She did reach out to us and she wants to intern over the summer for us. She has an outstanding resume and she's willing to help. So we do have an intern. I can't remember. Do you remember?
Warshoe.
Yeah, I think it was WashU. Wasn't it? It was WashU.
Yeah.
It was. And then they have an action team there.
WashU has an action team for Westlake as well.
Right, and they're doing little things. So yeah, I mean, it's a matter of getting all the groups together to kind of coordinate a little bit.
Way in the back.
The one bill started in the Senate to turn over the food scrap, flew through the Senate, and it's stuck in Colombi's office right now. How is the one that started in the Congress that would move into the Senate?
That one's passed. That one passed unanimous. Nobody had any problems with the one in the Senate. It's the same. They're identical.
It's a companion bill. So they're the same bill. One was, but
They're both stuck in the
no. He's asking basically where we are with the bill as far as, it is passed in the Senate. It passed back in January. It is sitting, and it's sitting in the House of Representatives right now, and Cologne is the one holding it up.
How was the one that started in the House and has been moved to the Senate?
That is stuck right here. So this was our Senate bill. It went through. It didn't need a hearing. It passed. So it bypassed all of this. Got voted on the floor. Didn't get filibustered, which is nice. It passed. We're right here. Okay. This is no problem. Our bill here is stuck right here. Here's where our bill in the House is.
What's the one down with the other?
Huh?
What's the one title from the other? From the Senate bill that's through? Is that two?
No, you have to have both. We gotta have both. We do, and it's a companion bill. So.
Then it goes to the president to become law.
And we've asked, because you always have to ask if Obama would stop the bill, and the answer is no. He will sign the bill. It will not get vetoed. So we're just waiting on our bill. We could have a hearing, and we're being told that it would be rough, but guys, we've moved bigger mountains. We'll do what we have to do. We always say that, right? I mean, if that's what it takes to get this bill passed, then that's what it takes.
So the focus, oh sorry, go ahead.
Between HR 4100 or SD, whatever the number is, which one do you have more, which one are you getting more support on?
You gotta have both.
Both. You have to have both.
Okay.
They're the exact same bill.
One was introduced to the Senate side, and one was introduced to the House side.
Why the numbers different?
Because that's just how they are, two different.
Yeah, it's a sequence number too.
So it has passed the Senate, it's stuck in the House, but it has to pass both. Right. So really, like Dawn said earlier, the focus needs to be on calling, tweeting, reaching out to Wagner and Clay and asking them what they're doing to get this bill moved. And then continue reaching out to Pallone.
I volunteer to reach out to Wagner.
That'd be
I
great.
have access to them, and I'll take my solution in and share with them all your other data. I can do that.
That'd be great. You know, they can do this, you guys. This Pallone thing is not the obstacle it's being made to be. Let's just be honest. It's one person. It's the obstacle to getting it through on suspension, but it's not the obstacle to getting the bill passed. You're going to have the Arizona Republicans that are heavily in Republic Services' pocket. That's going to be your opposition if this bill hits the floor. In a hearing, your opposition is going to be the Army Corps, which I don't think too much, because they don't really have a whole lot to say that would stand up. This is where you're going to see EPA's ugly teeth come forward. It's going to be EPA, and that's where we're going to have to put on our gloves. It's going to get real. If EPA got in a room at a public hearing and went off on this bill, I mean, they'd have to answer to everything they've done wrong at the site. So that's where it may be strategic for us to think about an inspector general or something like that. It might be strategic. We have a lot of strategy we can do here, is what I'm saying.
What do you mean, Inspector General?
So Inspector General, every state and federal has an Inspector General. They basically they investigate. They investigate to see whether wrongdoings were done. We know that there was wrongdoing done in the 2008 Record of Decision. And I don't know how many of you remember when they decided to leave it there, it went to the Remedy and Review Board. Do you guys remember that? And they looked through it and they were like, oh no. They made a list of recommendations. None of those were ever made public. Every time a Superfund site in this nation has ever gone through the National Remedy and Review Board, anything could trigger that, by the way. It could be it's too expensive to do a decision, or it could be there are problems, but it's all been made public. You're allowed to see what their discussion was. We're not allowed to see that. And we don't have an answer to why.
They're withholding that.
They're withholding it.
We meaning just moms, or we junkie public?
The public.
It is not public.
It is not public. It was closed to the public. It's the first time in history that's ever happened with any Superfund site. And it happened at Westlake, and it's been called out, and it's something that EPA will not even discuss. And we need to see those recommendations. We need to know what they found wrong in 2008 with this site, because that right there should tell you they've got a laundry list.
So what does it take for you to get the Inspector
A
General?
letter, just a letter. Anybody can request it. We're working right now to see if elected officials and other people will sign on to it. Bob Alvarez has done extensive research the past 3 weeks and has come up with a laundry list that's pretty damning at this site. So because if you go to the Inspector General, you really want to have a good list, even though it's their job to get a list, you want to kind of get them started a little bit. But yeah, I mean, if EPA keeps up their lobbying behind the scenes, which they're not even supposed to do, you guys, and they're doing it, we have that option. We have the option of having the Attorney General sign on. I mean, you can have anybody, Steve Stanger, Lacey Clay, you can have mayors sign on. Yeah.
Why can't you have it done now?
Well, it's sort of this. It's ready to pull the trigger when we need it. And that's what we're kind of trying to tell you. Right now, we're in a strategy phase.
We're looking at it.
We're looking at it. We're in a strategy phase. Is that, if we do that, and then there's a public hearing, will that help get the bill passed? Will that help back EPA off of their ridiculous stance? Will that help push Pallone? You know, I mean, these are the things that are being discussed. And when you call Wagner and Clay's office, this is something to discuss with them. That, you know, when they say the bill is stuck, it's not, there are things they can be doing, you guys, and that is one example. So don't let them give you the runaround, well, it's stuck, it's hard. No, there's a lot of ways to get this bill passed. And this, I believe this bill will pass, because it has to. It has to.
And if, I'm changing topics here, so if anybody wants to, anything else on that, go ahead. But I wanted to know, are there any other coalitions to make us safe, or any other negative groups that popped up that we should be aware about?
No, not that we know of yet. She asked if there were any other coalitions to keep us safe, any other fake lobby groups. that majorly blew up in their face. And it may not have blown up in their face in the sense that they're running ads here and the everyday people don't know, but in Washington, even Blaine Blumenmeyer, I mean, they're getting these robocalls, and they're getting people that are calling reading a script. And even Ann Wagner was like, listen, I can tell when somebody's reading a script to me, and it's taken up valuable time of my staff, and we don't appreciate it. So that really, in many ways, that made them push the legislation even faster. And that's, yeah. So, I mean, you know, and again, this is a desperate company trying desperate things.
What is your mayor?
Which one?
We're just
Look,
a
just
council
left.
member, just
She just
left.
Right there.
Yeah, what does Mr. Briggs have to say about all this?
I'm Linda Eager, and I'm on the Bridgeton City Council, and if you don't know, the landfill is in the ward I represent. And I'm running for re-election, I'll just throw that out. That's,
So, what is the mayor?
and truthfully, in Spanish Village, there are people up there that hate me for one thing, and people that hate me for something else over there. So it's a horrible situation for people trying to live together up there with all their different viewpoints, and
So where's
what
the
is the mayor doing? Well, we have a new mayor as of a year ago, and it's really hard to say. I don't want to speak for him.
I spoke with the mayor a week ago,
Our mayor?
yes. And he said that he is in favor of moving into Koster.
Right.
And that's public, that's in one of the newsletters.
Right.
So Bridgeton has weighed in. And I suggested to him that he consider calling Congressman Colombi, and he was taking that under advisement. So again, anyone that lives in Bridgeton, call him and ask him if he would please call Congressman Colombi. Think about it, when you guys are in an organizational meeting, someone puts a motion on the floor, it goes nowhere until there's a second, right? I put the motion on the floor, I need you guys to put the second in.
And I brought up at the city council meeting about calling Senator Colombi. Nobody cared. I didn't get any, oh, does he have a phone number, does anybody care? And you notice you haven't seen Bridgeton on too many of the things that they put up there.
Why?
Well,
Do they live in a different planet?
you know,
Yes, they do, as a matter of fact, you really get different world mentally.
no, they,
Oh, it doesn't
Excuse
matter,
me.
they are still in the driving distance.
excuse me, I can't speak for everyone. I think you've got a mayor, no matter who the mayor is in any city, that they're trying to deal with keeping this half of the city going while the other half is going to happen. You know, and it's all horrible. And we get new businesses coming in, we've got new ones coming in very soon, we've got other new ones that want to come in on the Rock Road. Others have left for various reasons. Landfill could be one, but business practices are that. So you've got this mayor trying to deal with all that. And then you've got other council members, it's not in my district, you're running my city.
Well, that's exactly,
Yeah,
I'm
I-
saying this about Spanish Village. Okay, it feels like we're being pitted against each other,
Yes, you are.
kind of by the city. We have people in Ward 4 that have actually blamed us
Yes.
for our property values declining.
Yes, they have.
When it was bring public services,
Yes.
the federal government, and all these EPA and MDNR, to let this all go to hell, but yet you guys are the reason, because you've got signs in you guys saying, I want help and I want the hell out of here, so I'm being blamed.
And you know,
So, and I'm trying to work with all the different groups of people because I'm on the council and I represent all of them. And it's a mess. And people hate each other.
listen though, this has happened before. When we first got involved in this situation, we found out Republic had a landfill fire in countywide, okay? Countywide, Ohio. We met this guy, and I'm gonna tell you, still my favorite person, Pastor Harvey. This man cried on the phone with us. He said, and I'm gonna get emotional talking about it, he said, it is not what they're gonna do to you pollution-wise. He said, because that's gonna be awful. It has hurt us physically. He said, they're gonna attack you here. They're gonna take your city and they are gonna rip it in half. He said they are going to, he said they will buy city council members. They will buy superintendents. He said they bought pastors. They bought Sunday school superintendents. He said they had, and this was a smaller town, you guys, he said they had one Sunday where the pastor, the senior pastor, and other members who were, active in the church, they got up. I don't know what happened, call it a God thing. They got up and they confessed that they had accepted money and they resigned.
Wow.
They all got up in front of the congregation one Sunday morning and said, we have to tell you, we did this and we're sorry. And he said, they lost churches, you guys. This is a tactic that this company has used. They pit neighbor against neighbor because some do. Some are older and they just want to live there and be left alone. Others don't, and they're willing to get help even if it means painting their roof orange. They send out subpoenas. I got one and Robin got one. They want us to turn over everything.
And there's probably going to be more at some point.
Oh, there's going to be more.
Where's mine?
Well, and it's probably coming.
Yeah.
What do they subpoena?
They want everything. They want every email, every Facebook post, every tweet. They want this, even though Debbie's taping it right now, they can watch it.
Why
How
do
can
you
they
need to do
request
it?
that if there's nothing that's been filed?
They're doing private litigation, so there are residents suing for nuisance. They're suing this company, which I'm not a part of. I know Robin's not a part of. They're pulling us into that. They are claiming, Republic is claiming that by hosting these meetings, we're bringing the property value down. They're hurting the city with these meetings.
Okay.
I mean,
Going after the moms.
They're going after us, they want everything, and we luckily have a lawyer pro bono at this point who's willing to stand up for us. And, I mean, we're gonna fight it. We're gonna fight it, or Frank.
Basically, what I guess Dawn's saying is, we have to stand together.
Yes.
Because what they're doing is what they set out to do, and they've done it many times. They don't care about our kids.
The first was with the buyout offered to people, with the divide and conquer, we're giving you so much money for your house, which some people took. And, and that started another of the big
It did.
problems.
The difference
And it
with,
wasn't that much money.
but
Really.
Karen's right, the difference with this site and the other site is that this is a decades-long problem that's gonna continue. This isn't going away, you guys. This fire's not gonna put itself out. It's gonna, maybe it can be put out.
The fire in Countywide's still burning.
Right, it's still burning.
20 years?
Yeah, they had a little boy there diagnosed with leukemia, a 2-year-old, and they settled out of court on that. So just from emissions. So just be aware that what Linda's describing, she's right, because it's real. It's happened in other cities, and it's going to continue to happen here. Really what you need to do is we need to show up at City Council, Bridgeton residents, and they need to stand together. They need to say, I understand, you think this, we think this. It's all about not giving into that, the nastiness.
What about those of us who don't live in Bridgeton? I attended a Bridgeton council meeting. Yeah, she's one of the good guys. And I was very quiet because I didn't know if I was officially allowed to be there because I live in Mountain Heights.
They don't want you there. I mean, some of them do. Linda doesn't mind, obviously, but there are others that think it's Maryland Heights people stirring the pot.
Oh, you ruined our city.
Yeah, that we ruin the city and whatnot. I mean, it's.
Not the landfill.
No.
It's still
Blaming not just the messenger.
But they've done it before. I mean, this is a tactic, and the next thing they'll do is probably hit us with a slap suit, telling us that we can't have these meetings anymore, and we'll fight that too. I mean, this is just part of this company's tactic. We really do have to stick together, and we're winning at this point. We are winning. Although what we win at the end isn't.
There's no trouble. What landfill is
Countywide, Ohio. The countywide landfill. You can Google it, it's still burning. Slap suit is a suit basically against public participation. It means basically that they'll try and shut down these public meetings. Now, they don't really have a leg to stand on because Missouri has really great laws against that, but it still has to be fought, and the purpose is to exhaust resources.
And to wear us down.
Yeah, that's the purpose.
But it gives us a chance at the media again. I don't think they want us on the media anymore. They
No.
can,
No, they don't want us on the media anymore, and it sure does.
Do you have anyone on your side of the meeting?
No.
Depends on the day.
Officially, no. Unofficially, yeah. A lot
Kevin
of them
Colleen
are
is
like-
PBS. Kevin Colleen's fantastic. Dury Buscarin, St. Louis Public Radio is great. Jacob Barker, no comment. Russell Kinsall is, I don't think he's a fan. I mean, it is what it is, but they will jump at the opportunity to do a story.
Jesse?
I know everybody keeps having these concerns about property values, but in the long run, here in Bridgeton, in Maryland Heights, and the surrounding areas of the landfill, and then also in North County and all the properties along Colombi Creek, property value is going to be null and void if these issues aren't fixed because we're on to be dead anyway.
That's right.
And the elected officials have an issue because they're sitting as money in their pocket, and having these kind of issues is scary, and it runs businesses out. And they don't want a ghost town. But when we're all dead anyways, it's going to be a damn ghost town.
That's a catch-22.
That's the bottom line. If we don't act now, and you can watch these meetings, when the media was involved, you couldn't get in here. And now look what's happening. I appreciate everybody here, but we have to stay on top of this. The media dropped the ball, like they always do, and look at how many people are here. We can all fit in 2 cars.
Well, it's a Patrick's Day too. Give them a spray. Get a lot of booze.
You know,
I've already gone too.
just saying.
Thanks, Jesse. And I think that if these cities would clean up the mess, if they would clean up the mess and do the right thing, property values would be really good. We would come back. Bridgeton would come back if they would put all of their efforts into making sure that this is cleaned up and better than it was before.
Maryland Heights, rain is rain. And now wants to
Do you really think there's going to be people moving in to what's going on around here?
No.
Businesses? I don't think so.
Nope. All right, we're going to wrap it up. April 21st is our next meeting. Go to the website for any other events that you would like to participate in. We really appreciate you guys coming out and spending your St. Patrick's Day evening with us.